Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and quickly explain how to take your final cut of your movie or video and make it small enough to be able to upload to the web for services like YouTube and Viddler and Vimeo, and do it as efficiently as possible. Now, what I mean by that is you do want to still maintain as good a quality as you can, because it's going to then compress, the service will then compress your video even more so that it can be played over the web. Okay, so we're not talking about making your actual video smaller. We're talking about making the file size smaller, and when you do that, you do lose some quality, but we're going to try to minimize that as much as possible. Okay, so I'm here on my Mac with QuickTime Pro, not just the QuickTime Player. It's QuickTime Pro. You can pick that up at quicktime.com. It's about $29. So you get your video. This video here that I'm working with, it's just someone explaining a ring. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to export it. One of two ways to do that. You can go to File, Export, or you can go Command E on the Mac or Control E on Windows machines. Okay, so now what we want to do is rename this. Typically what I'll do is on this particular instance where I'm making a compressed version, I'll just put the codec after it. In this case, I'm using H.264 so that I can delineate from the two different files. Okay, so after we do that, we want to make sure that we are using QuickTime Movie. There are other ways you can do this. You can use DivX, you can use a bunch of different codecs, but right now we're going to use the format-wise, we're going to use QuickTime, and we're going to use the H.264 codec. And to get into that, we go into Options, and under Settings here, we click on that, and we choose H.264. There are a bunch to choose from, but H.264 at the moment is the best that you can use for those services. It's also the standard for HD DVD and for many phones. So here we are in our H.264 settings. We want to make sure that we're not going to change our frame rate. So if this comes up as something, make sure you put it to current so that your original frame rate will remain intact. The keyframes, you can use automatic. I recommend using that, but I don't recommend using automatic for data rate. It might get your file size too large. So what I recommend doing is using 2500 kilobits per second. This usually will get it down small enough. Now, in the case that when we're done, the file size is over the allotted limit of the service you're trying to use, you can go back to this process and just make that number smaller, like 2000. And then if that doesn't work, go to 1500, etc. Best quality, of course. We hit OK. Size, we want to make sure it's current, because we don't want to make it smaller in actual dimensions. It'll do that for us. And in most cases, it won't even mess with that. This is standard NTSC here. But even if we were in HD, a lot of the services now use HD. Now, I selected de-interlaced source video because this particular clip actually is interlaced. Most of the things that people are using and most of the things I'm shooting is actually in progressive, so we don't have to worry about that. But in this case, we're going to click on that little option here. Hit OK. Sound, again, we want the service to have the best quality possible, but we also do want to make sure that the file size is manageable. So we go ahead and we set the quality to best, because that's just render time. And I usually like to be at 192 or 256. You don't want to go down in here because again it's going to compress it even worse. So I would say 192 is a good place to start. And then we hit OK, and everything else looks good. We hit OK, and now we're ready to go. So we're going to hit save. And this process usually takes a little bit of time, but I'm just going to go ahead and I already compressed one with those exact settings, so I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like. So here's our final product. You notice I got rid of my interlace issue, and it looks like it's playing just fine. Here, let's listen to a little bit of it.
Was carved for Guy Fieri.
So there we are. We've got the clip now small. The original size was very large. This file size is actually a lot smaller. Now we're looking at a clip here that's 28 seconds long and is only 9.3 megabytes after compressing it. So that's a lot better than the I think it was 200 megabytes before. So here we are in this particular clip that we want to now make a poster frame. Okay, some services like YouTube, for example, will just go to the very center of the video, and that is your thumbnail. Others will actually use your poster frame. So to get the poster frame, let's say I want that to be it. The way to do that is you go under View, okay, and then what you want to do is say Set Poster Frame. You can't see it in the video right now, but it's Set Poster Frame, and then you're set. Now the biggest mistake people make is they then save it. The problem with that is it saves where you are in the video, so you want to rewind and then hit save. Command S, okay, or Control S if you're on Windows. Alright, and that is all there is to it. You are now ready to take this file and upload it to the service, who will then recompress it for the web, and you'll be in good shape.